All right, so let's define the word works for starters, because if we're not all talking about the same thing, we're going to have a little bit of a problem going forward. So we just need a baseline about the definition of works. So let's say that you spend $5,000 a month in advertising in October. Okay? What do you want to happen in October, November for that money? What do you want to happen? Give me some things. We'll make a list together.
Sales growth.
Sales growth. What else?
New customers.
Brand recognition.
What else?
Repeat customers.
Like that. Am I missing anything?
Calls.
Well, I'm here, so you had a couple really good answers. What kind of business are you in?
Me?
Yeah.
Jewelry.
Jewelry.
Buying jewelry.
Do you want calls, or do you have some other version of it? It's like traffic,
I didn't say
website?
calls.
I know. I said, do you want calls, or do you,
Well,
what is
calls
your
that
version?
come
What
in.
is your version
Oh,
of
no,
it?
we want people to come in.
Yeah, to come into the store.
So you want-
which is
you want
new customers.
traffic.
Right, yeah, traffic for sure.
Okay, so you want traffic, like an HVAC company or a plumbing company. They don't want traffic. That'd be weird.
Right.
They want calls. Some companies want clicks. It just really depends on what kind of business you're in. I mean, and every business kind of has its own vernacular. Like the automotive industry calls it ups. So, but in general, it's something like that, right? Depending on what kind of business. And actually, it's interesting because these aren't different answers. They're hierarchy of answers. Let me give you an example. I want brand recognition. Why?
So that you have customers.
So I have top of mind awareness. So when I need the product or service,
They go to you first.
they'll go to you first with a phone call or coming into your store or going onto your website, right? So that then they might become a new customer. They might come back again if we do a good job, and I might achieve sales growth. Does that make sense? Right? So here's the interesting thing. Number one, they're all the same answer, right? And they just kind of go up. But we also just saw they all have to happen. Just that little thing. They all have to happen, and they kind of have to happen in that order, right? And they can't all happen at the same time. So while this is the ultimate goal, there's a lot of reasons why that's the last thing to happen, right? Like, what are some things that are involved in sales other than advertising?
Location.
Location,
Customer service.
customer service,
Product.
product. Yeah, I put location, customer service, and product. I think that pretty much sums up marketing, right? Because those aren't the same thing, marketing and advertising. You get that, right?
Yeah.
We'll go to that in a little bit if you want. But all those things that she just said and you said together add up to marketing. In this building, they sell advertising. It's a part of it. But in the grand scheme of things, I hate to do this to my Cox friends, but if you had to prioritize product, location, customer service, and advertising, where would you put advertising most likely?
Under all of the above.
Under all of the above. Yes. So in terms of achieving sales growth, our definition of works for that $4,000 in advertising, we're getting further and further away from this, aren't we? Yeah, in a hurry. Now, this stuff right here, calls, traffic, clicks, I mean, that's kind of the bread and butter, right? Of what we expect for that $4,000. Would you say that's fair? That front end, getting people in so they can see your product, experience your customer service. Okay, so like I said, every industry has its own vernacular. So we need one word that kind of encapsulates the beginning of this thing that we're all looking for. And I tend to find that this word right here holds for, whether you're automotive, you're a landscaping service, you're an HVAC, a jeweler, mortgage company, some sort of a lead. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
I spent $4,000 in October, I need to get some leads out of it, that I can then hopefully convert, show a good job, that kind of thing. Is that, we're on the same page?
Yes.
Okay, so works is going to be our baseline, and we're going to say leads is that one-word definition. Okay, all right, let's talk a little bit more about these leads. Like, what are some of the characteristics of these leads? I'll start you off so you know what I'm talking about. A lot. Now, by a lot, I just mean greater than one. A financial planner has told me before that 4 closed lifetime customers a year pays for his $100,000 advertising. I don't know if it does or doesn't, just what he's told me. And it's because of the lifetime value of the, and maybe he factored in repeat referral rates and all that stuff. And HVAC or plumbing service that's got a $189 average ticket is going to be more than this, and so on and so forth. Right? Somebody that walks in and buys a tennis bracelet for his wife for $1,500 is great. Someone that comes in and drops $25,000 on engagement ring is better. So it's really hard to say what the number is anyway, but it's more than one. What are some other things about these leads?
Have to be qualified.
Qualified. And just so we're on the same page about that, what does qualified mean to you or this group in general?
Capacity to make a purchase.
Capacity to make a purchase? Right, in the automotive industry, they've actually coined a term that we all kind of kick around now called tire kicker. Someone who calls, wastes your time, has no intention of buying, etc. Right? How about trackable? Which is great because that's a made-up word. If you type that into your phone and put the little red squiggly line under it, because nobody knows what that means. Except we all do, don't we? We know absolutely what that made-up word means. What does that made-up word mean?
We have the ability to recontact that individual.
Yeah, like, did it work? Did this thing drive that call? Or that traffic? Where did that lead come from? Anything else?
So you're saying, did the advertising create trackability so that we could?
Can I track it back? Can I
quantify-
track, like if it came from Google AdWords, can I track it to Google AdWords? Right? How about cheap? This one's always on there. This one's usually at the top.
What number?
We don't call it cheap. Cheap. Ooh. Right? Value? Would that be better?
Frugal.
Yeah. Well, really, what we're looking for is return on investment, right? For that $4,000. Because even if I get sales growth, if it costs me triple sales growth to get it, I'm upside down. I got a problem. So really, what we're really looking for is return on investment. Fair enough? All right, how do you get return on investment? It's a really simple formula. I get out more than I put in. The less I put in, the less I need to get out to have a positive return on investment. So the word cheap here is actually very applicable. We can say it however we want, we can call it negotiation, we can do whatever, but we're looking for the lowest cost per lead, for the lowest cost per sale to get the highest ROI. Is that fair? Okay, all right, so now we're on the same page of our definition of works. All right, I got to clean this place up a little bit. All right, so do me a favor, we're going to do an exercise to make sure you're engaged because it's raining out, it's kind of a slumbery day. So I'm going to keep you guys kind of hopefully engaged because my story bounced off some of you right off the bat. So here's what I want you guys to do. Let's take 30 seconds while I kind of move some stuff around. I want you to, how do we want to do this? I want you to try to write down all the things that you can remember buying directly from a TV, radio, or banner ad in the last A, 6 months, B, 1 year, or C, 10 years. That was a lot. I kind of jarbled it up a little bit. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Try to write down all the things you can remember buying directly from a TV ad, a radio ad, or a banner ad in the last 6 months, 1 year, or 10 years. Again, 30 seconds. Like, don't exhaust you. Don't get hand cramped. Right? If you get to 25 before I'm ready, just stop. All right, it would appear that I'm 0 for 2. The story missed some people, and the exercise was not of interest to you because most of you are not writing. I'm not sure you just didn't bring a writing utensil, or you didn't get enough coffee, or you're done with my purple shirt already, or whatever it is. Let's figure it out together. All right. So maybe together, let's just do the exercise. Take 30 seconds to do it. So, just shout some stuff out.
Shoes.
Pumpkin spice latte.
All right. I heard shoes back there, trumped by the pumpkin spiced latte. Where did you get the pumpkin spice latte?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. You just like pumpkin. You're some pumpkin-y guy.
The fall started yesterday.
Do you like go to the pumpkin patch, get like 38 pumpkins? It's limited time, I gotta soak it up now. Do you freeze dry them? Stock up for later, so in July you can just have one of those delightful pumpkin spice and think of fun, cool days, which actually don't happen here.
True. A Gator Snuggie.
A Snuggie! I got a Snuggie.
Concert tickets.
Yeah, good one.
NBA League Pass.
Clothes,
I'm sorry, say that?
clothes,
Yeah, tell me about that.
just advertisement for sales for my favorite stores.
Which one? Tell me which one you bought.
Old Navy.
What'd you buy?
What did I buy? My sweater that I'm
Very
wearing
nice. I like that
today.
sweater.
Thank you very much.
Good, is it water repellent?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Skirts, shirts.
Very nice.
Way too much stuff.
Way too much stuff. You do that a lot, right? Old Navy?
Not so much.
I mean, that was a guess. I was wrong on that one. Anybody else?
Suit,
Suit. Tell me about that.
Men's Warehouse, buy one, get 10 free.
Don't even hand deliver it. What is it? What color is it?
All two act, gray and navy.
Gray and navy. Do you wear suits to work?
No.
You
Just
are?
one, yeah.
What was the event?
It was a meeting.
Very cool. That's cool. Because the reason I asked it that, I'm going to tell a little story in a second. I did the same thing. I did like identical. In fact, the same color. In fact, I would be surprised if both in the executive signature line. Not the base line, the next line, because the finish on the inside is just a little bit nicer, and then still buy one, get one free, because that holds for the entire thing in the store. Anybody else? Anything we missed? There's usually going to start to be some overlap kind of things.
I was trying to think of household products, but I couldn't think of any.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to. So, it's interesting. Now I see the problem. And I'm sorry I even bothered you with it, because we could have probably knocked this out in like one sentence. Because here's the problem. I'm going to repeat the question one more time just to make sure that you remember what I asked. I asked you to write down all the times in the last 10 years that you were a lead.
10 years.
Yeah. Would that have changed things very much? Maybe you put a blender on there? Couch.
Car.
Car. Tell me about that. What car was it?
We got a mailer from a certain Cadillac dealer. My wife decided she wanted a Cadillac, and we went to another Cadillac dealer and bought the car.
Yeah, typically. A couple of problems with that one. I didn't put mailer in the list. That's okay. Second of all, did she just decide she wanted a Cadillac?
Yes.
I didn't ask you. To the rest of the group looking objectively, did she just decide she wanted a Cadillac?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. If she hated Cadillac, would she have bought a Cadillac from that mailer, albeit from another dealer?
No.
No, that's not what actually happened. That's what we're going to talk about, what actually happened. Because here's what's going on. I asked a group of, how many people do we have here, give or take? 15, 20? 25 all in. I asked 25 people, how many things can you remember buying in the last 10 years? How many times can you remember being a lead for a business in the last 10 years? It's 250 combined years. And together you wrote down shoes, a pumpkin spice latte, a Snuggie, some concert tickets, the NBA League Pass, clothes, a suit, and a Cadillac. So what does this exercise right here, I mean, we're all up. I get that there's some people in this room that are wealthy. I get that. I get there's some people in this room that aren't. I get there's some people in here that are older. I get there's some people in here younger. I get there's some that are black. I get there's some that are white. What I also get is that none of that matters when we're talking about basic consumer behavior. Now, if you're Tom Cruise, and on the weekends you fly P-51 restored Mustangs, that's a World War II era high-performance fighter, and you got a full-time mechanic just to maintain that thing, and you don't do your own shopping, we're not talking about that kind of consumer behavior. And if you're broke, and you get by on the charity of others and your church and food stamps, we're not talking about that consumer behavior. We're talking about the vast majority of middle America, the kind that every one of you as a business owner and every one of you as a salesperson is either talking to directly or trying to help others talk to. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Okay. Our consumer behavior is very, very predictable at a macro level. Individually, it's like dogs and cats living together. We're lunatics. But macro, very, very consistent and very, very predictable. This exercise right here just demonstrated that statistically speaking, there are no leads. So what does that tell you about this definition of works?
It's hard to calculate your ROI.
It's hard to calculate. What else does it tell you? What more? What deeper? It's hard to trace it back to your advertising, but that was obvious right off the bat because the hierarchy that we have to go through just to get ROI. We have to go through all these steps anyway. What does it really say about the definition of works being leads?
Might not be the right definition.
Might not be the right definition because it's impossible. I just want to be clear about what statistical means. Statistical means that as a percentage of incidences, it never, ever happens. Does it ever happen? Like in the world? Well, obviously. But is that the rule or the exception?
It's exception.
Clearly it's the exception, right? See, exceptions are awesome. Like they're awesome sauce. They're awesome. Every good story ever told is by definition an exception. Or else it wouldn't be a story. And you'd be boring. So I went this morning and I got milk. That's a story. Except that's not a story, is it? I went to this morning to buy milk and my brakes failed and I went right through into the dairy section and drove my car through all the milk. It's a little bit better story, right? Does that happen every day? No. The problem with exceptions is because by their very definition they make for stories. We had a guy come here once from Charlotte because our pricing was the best on Cadillacs. That's awesome. Is that an exception or the rule? Like is your primary trading area from Jacksonville to Charlotte? Exception. The problem with exceptions is by their very definition, they make good stories. Stories are how human beings communicate. I don't care if you're talking about Napoleon or Jesus or Moses or what you believe in. That's how we've always communicated. The brain is wired to tell stories. So we remember stories, whether we want to or not. And they stick out powerfully. We hold on to them. The problem is we romanticize the exception into the rule. That's the problem. Because while exceptions are really, really cool and fun, they also have two problems. They are not consistent nor predictable. Let's go back to the first thing. I give you $4,000 to spend, you spend it, and you want some of this to happen. We all agree it has to happen in that order. And I got to track it. Why? So I know where to spend it and if it's working. That means it needs to be consistent and predictable. I can't budget for it, I can't plan for it, I can't count on it, I can't grow my business. Well, if it needs to be consistent and predictable for me to grow my business, can I count on the exceptions? Which are by definition not consistent nor predictable? No, I can't count on the exceptions. I can't count on the leads. Because they're by definition hope. I'm hoping my business is the exception. There's never ever been another jewelry store like mine ever in the history of America. We'll be the exception. I'm hoping for a lot of consumers that are exceptions. I'm hoping this marketplace is the exception. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. If you want to run a really successful business, you have to learn what the rules are and follow them. to your advantage. You can't hope. And hoping for exceptions, code leads, is hope. And hope is not a strategy. I'm sure you've heard that before, and it is absolutely true. The rules of advertising are known as consumer behavior. If you understand your consumer's behavior, you can take advantage of it. That's the purpose of advertising. The purpose of advertising is not to change consumer behavior. Well, I want more leads. Yeah, I know what you want. I want to be tall. I do. I've always envisioned being tall. I was a fairly athletic guy, younger, but my problem was everybody was bigger than me. At least that's what I told myself. But if I was just tall, we all want things. I wish time didn't move as fast. I can take the clock off the wall. Does that change it? Consumer behavior is not something you can control. You got to learn to take advantage of it. You cannot change it. You may want this to happen, but I got bad news for you. If your plan for your business is to rely on human beings doing something they don't naturally do, you're in for a long, hard life. You're in for a slog. It's going to go long and hard, and it's constantly going to be aggravating. That just seems like a very, very, very unhealthy way to live. But you do what you want. For those that don't want that, we're going to keep going. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the rules. Let's say this is your target. And when I say target, I don't mean all the people in Jacksonville. I don't even mean all the people that are adults. When I say your target, I'm going to put over here in parentheses, ideal target. I'm talking about a pretty defined target. So since I already started a conversation with the middle table here that sells jewelry, tell me a little bit about who you envision being your ideal target. The person when they walk in, you feel really good about what's about to happen.
Somebody that's about to get married, for sure, or about to propose, excuse me. And that's our target. So,
That's awesome. I love the way you answer that. Because now, instead of saying adults, men, 25, you told me what's really going on. They're getting engaged, and that could be anywhere, right? That could be a second marriage, could be a third marriage, it could be renewing your vows. I didn't have the money the first time. I bought her at the candy store. It's a great story. And now we're going to do it right. Right?
yeah, and then there's a second and third to that, too, would be anniversaries and birthdays.
Right. That's the other reason I love that
Anybody with
answer.
an impending anniversary or birthday, those are critical
Yeah,
to our business.
absolutely.
And
Now,
in that order.
Once I said engagement, and I wanted to pick media to use, could I start backing into what that person most likely would look like so that I could maybe target them a little more effectively? Like, I know they could be 55 years old and on their second marriage, and this one they're actually doing for love. But what I'm talking about is,
25 to 40.
so I start backing into it. I say 25 to 40. What would you say the household income is, or personal income, I guess would be a better one for this one?
Well, I mean, ideal or, I mean...
Ideal. I mean, I know it's all over the place. I get that's way all over the place.
Right, I mean, you have to play the whatever comes in. But ideal for us would be, I'd say, over 70,000.
Okay.
And that yields probably the best sales.
Okay. So let's just leave it at that, because he's right. It really is all over the place. And an important thing you should know, the number one rule of consumer behavior is that emotion drives it. Because that's the law of being human. The mind will justify what the heart has decided every single time. See, when you go into work every day and everybody's talking about price, there's a reason for that. It's because they're only there right before they buy. But that's not what was happening all along the way. I mean, this is a great example. What am I mostly thinking about? What is that ring, really? Is it a ring?
It's a symbol.
It's a symbol. And I'll rationalize 3 months salary, 2 months salary, 6 months salary, this one's for love, it's a year's salary. It doesn't matter. I could make $1 million a year, in which case I'm making $80,000, $90,000 a month. So that's 1 month's salary if I buy a really astounding ring, right? I'm going to rationalize 100% of the time what it is this has already decided to buy. That's the way it works. All right? So we're going to talk about this ideal target. Here's the thing. For almost every product or service sold in the United States of America, the percentage of your ideal target that are in the market, that means ready to buy now, qualified, looks like this. Your target, that's the people most likely to buy from you in general, maybe because they're close to your location. If I need jewelry, you're within a 10-minute drive. I've heard of you. People have told me about you. That kind of thing. You have the right income. I'm a nicer jewelry store. If you want the lower end jewelry store, that's totally fine. I get that. But I'm known for being this. So when I talk about your ideal target, I'm talking about those kind of people. The people that at some point probably will need or want your services. And you should be talking to, probably all the time. But the percentage of people that are in the market, which is really just the target ready to buy now, the percentage looks like this. And for almost every category of business in the United States, it looks like this. 95 of your target are your target, just not ready to buy, and 5% are ready to buy now. And now is usually defined as a 30-day period. It can differ depending on the thing. If you're talking about tacos versus rings versus cars, there's some differential there. We're going to use 30 days in our placeholder. Does that make sense? We're going to call this group of consumers relational consumers. Why do you think that is? Why would we use that word? There's only one of me and a lot of you, so when you're all yelling at the same time, I can't differentiate.
We're establishing a relationship.
Yeah, that's it. They're open to building a relationship with me. They're my place of business. They probably want to get their wife something at some point for something. Just not today. This group right here we call transactional. We're ready to make a transaction. And the thing is, all of us, there's not relational types of consumers and transactional types of consumers. There's relational phases and transactional phases. We're all relational and transactional for things today right now. Does that make sense? There are some things that you're going to buy today. So you're transactional for those things you're going to buy today. If my air conditioning goes out today in Atlanta, Georgia, where we live, am I suddenly transactional for advertising for air conditioning? Like, am I going to get it today? Like as fast as humanly possible? Absolutely. But my car is coming off lease in 60 days. I know that. I'm starting to get the mailers, right? So I'm in the market for a car today, next week,
Between now and 60 days.
between now and 60 days. And probably, since it's on lease and I'm paying it anyway, I'm going to go right up to the 60-day mark. This is advertising. This is it. This is the basis of consumer behavior right here. If you understand this, you're going to be light years ahead. Now, let's go back to the jewelry store because this was outstanding. We're going to jump ahead here for a second. What are the things that would have to happen in someone's life for them to be in the market for jewelry at all? What are the things? Well, he gave us engagement, anniversary, birthday, maybe what are some other things?
Push gift, we talked about that today.
What was that?
Impending birth.
Pending birth, that's a good one.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day,
We're in the doghouse.
retirement, yeah, doghouse.
Christmas and Valentine's.
Make
Right.
it jewelry, that's what that's called.
Right, we can almost group them as two kinds of holidays, right? The holidays that fall on the calendar for everybody, and the holidays that fall on the calendar just for us. Right? A birthday isn't on everybody's calendar, it's on our calendar. Valentine's Day is on everybody's. Does that make sense? Okay. So, here's the thing. People are going to move from relational to transactional. And when they do, they're going to need a product or service. So what is the purpose of advertising versus marketing? If marketing is to increase your overall sales and drive revenue, what is the purpose of the tip of that iceberg? Advertising. The purpose of advertising is to give you the first shot at that business. So imagine this little circle is a pie. You're going to get some share. You're not going to get 100% of the circle, of even this little circle. That's everybody's in the market right now for jewelry, or mortgages, or cars. You're going to get some percentage of that. And you really want to drive your unfair share. Is that fair to say? Ironically? You want your unfair share. You want to grow that every year. And I just want you to think about this. All the big marketers who have the best expertise and the most money to try to do things the way they want them to do, still know they can't do it. They still know that consumer behavior is the clock on the wall. It's happening whether they like it or not, and they can't stop it, slow it down, or change it. So I've mentioned them before. I'm going to keep mentioning them because they represent the single biggest chunk of advertising in the world, automotive. They represent billions of dollars in this country alone. And General Motors and Toyota and Ford all know that they cannot get people to buy cars more than they were going to already buy. They speak of this thing called annualized pace. Does anybody know what that means? Annualized pace?
How many cars do you expect to sell this year?
How many cars are going to be sold in the United States of America this year, total? And then they break it down for their individual make, model, etc. So in other words, let's say that we're pacing after recovery, we're out of the recession, and we're back up to 2007 levels. We're pacing for 15.5 million cars. General Motors doesn't believe they can get that to 15.6 million. They know it's going to be 15.5 million. That's the way it's going to be. What they want is their unfair share of the 15.5. If you were to go Google it and Google annual reports, you see the way they measure themselves. We were 51.6% of all U.S. cars sold. That's how they keep track of their competitors. That's how they're bonused. Because they realize they can't really grow this little circle. They can't get it from 5% to 7% or 15% or 20% of all the people that are the ideal target. They just know that for whatever reason, people are going to come into this circle here and they got to get their unfair share. Does that make sense? Okay. Now here's the crazy thing about that, getting your unfair share. Why would people get their unfair share?
That's wanting to state that everyone and the competitors would get equal amounts of that 5%. Then you have your unfair share, you'd get more than that equal percent.
True. It's a good point. Now you could factor in size, number of dealerships, number of locations in top 50 markets. There's an unbelievable number of factors in what's fair and what's not fair. Right? The term fair is a very subjective term. My 8-year-old and 5-year-old use it on each other all the time. And that's not fair. I told you to split the cookie, but I'm 8. Shouldn't I get more of the cookie? It's the exact same thing. In fact, the cookie even looks like a circle. It's the exact same thing. Right? So fair is a relative term. But the point is, how would a car manufacturer or a local jewelry store
You have
get...
to play to the relational.
Yeah, that's it. The battle is won or lost here. Here. There is no way around it. Now this is tricky and tough and hard. It's a lot like a job. But what I can tell you is that by the time people get here in a transactional and they're ready to make a purchase, the things on their mind are completely different. Completely different. Have you ever gone into a store and you're just looking around and the salesperson comes over after like a minute or two? What do you say? Just looking. Right? You make up stuff. There's nobody on the phone. Right? And it feels like they're all over you. You're like in there for 2 minutes. What happens when you walk into the same store 2 weeks later and you're in there to buy something? And 30 seconds goes by and nobody's asked you. Now what?
You're pissed.
You're pissed. Let's go. I'm busy. I'm an important person. You know who I am? I need a purple shirt. I need it right now. You know what I'm talking about. We're different people. We look the same on the outside, and demographically we're the same. We're different things. The things we're interested in are completely different. Up here, if you tell me how much a ring is, we've been dating 8 months, I may be thinking she's the one. But you tell me how much a ring is, do I care? Do I know? Do I even understand what you're saying? Mostly you're just going to scare the crap out of me. Right? I mean, let's just be honest with this for a second. Financing offers? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. The other day, I heard an ad for an air conditioning company, and I said $1,500 off a high SEER system. Tell me about that. Can you spell SEER? You know what SEER? You know SEER. SEER. You know, like the Oracle of Delphi, a SEER. SEER, SEER, SEER?
See the future.
SEER. It's an acronym that stands for something. Look it up on your own time. It's a governmental rating.
Energy rating.
So what are we talking about?
I don't know.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. They bought the commercial. They wrote a check for it. I'm hoping to somebody, or it becomes bad debt, right? And they got stuff in there $1,500 off what? I don't know. My air conditioner's working fine until it's not. Then I'm interested in how much it is, right? Two kinds of advertising, and they match up perfectly with the kinds of consumers. There's relational advertising and transactional advertising. Let's do a quick exercise. Ready? It is your air conditioning that's the problem. Let's pick a really hot day, which down here is every day. But let's just say that it's July 7th. It's going to be super hot. It's Atlanta, it's Charlotte, it's Jacksonville. Doesn't matter. It's going to be really, really hot. And it's about 7 a.m. and you realize that your air conditioner is not, it's either blowing warm or it's not blowing cool. It's starting to get stuffy in the house. So before you and yourself and I, or you and your significant other, depart for the day, you make a battle plan to get this thing fixed right now. Because when you come home, it's going to be 80,000 degrees. And it's life or death, and plants and animals and small children are just going to be dead. So what are you going to do? So what are you going to do? Write down the things you would do from the moment you realize it's not right to the moment everything's nice again. What would you do? All right, what are some things?
I call American Home Shield.
Google. Say American Home Shield.
Yes. And I can go online now, I actually don't have to call.
You have to call. It's got an app for that. Yeah, a sticker on the machine.
It's a household appliance insurance.
What else? Anything else?
I'd ask a friend who maybe recently had some work
Yeah.
done.
Who'd you use? You got a guy?
Facebook.
Mint magazine.
What was that?
Mint magazine.
Mint magazine? I don't know what that is, but I'll write it down.
Call my dad, see if he could fix it. Dad.
Call my
Call my
dad.
dad first. Before I Google, I call my dad.
Go out there and check it a couple times.
I think about my customers by chance that I know someone who was maybe in that industry that worked with me.
Yeah. Do I know anybody? Do I got a guy that's got a guy? That kind of thing. There's a pretty good list. I've done this before. The list is always the same. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. Doesn't matter what service I throw in. Doesn't matter what town I'm in or what time of day, if you had coffee, if it's raining. It's the same list every time. These are what's called transactional media. Transactional media are by definition media that are good at two things. Number one, they're the place people naturally go when they're in the market to buy something right now. We can count on it. We're humans. We're impatient. I walk into a store. It's been 30 seconds. Hello? I need a purple shirt. Or the hammers. My phone's not working. Can you just to do the thing? Just plug the thing in and clean that, do whatever it is you do? Because I got important stuff to do. Right? Transactional media, the place you naturally go when you're in the market to buy something. Number one. Number two, we're really good when you're in transactional media at giving details. Because what are the kind of things you want to know? Let's just talk about this. How fast? How fast?
How much?
How much?
What time?
How much time is it going to take? Is it a window you're going to give me, or can I set an appointment? If it's more than a repair, it's an entire replacement, it's going to cost $5,500, let's say. What are some other things you want to know?
Warranty?
Warranty, absolutely. Maybe financing. Now it's really like, when's it going in? Like, okay, I need a new one. Can it be in like tomorrow, or is it like a 2-week thing? Because it's now got to be a whole installation process, and so on. Transactional media are good at giving those details, like a website. That make sense? Some pretty detailed information. Relational media are the exact opposite. Here are things that nobody ever writes down. My air conditioner broke, so I go watch TV. My air conditioner broke, I better go drive around and listen to the radio. And honey, while I listen to the radio, you look for billboards of an HVAC contractor, and then we'll drive by and we'll pick up a paper and leaf through that.
And then a magazine.
Yeah, on a magazine. You know what? I'm going to go to my favorite website, and I'm just keep hitting refresh till a banner ad comes up. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm on it. Right? That's not regular human behavior. That's, I don't know who you're selling to, but if most of the people that you sell to are human, then it's going to look something like this. These are relational media. Relational media are the yin to transactional's yang. They're the exact inverse. They are not places people go to find information when they're in the market, but they are places where people naturally live their lives and do their things. They're consistent and predictable in their use. You say who your ideal target is, and I can tell you what they listen to, when they listen to it, how long they listen to it, what they watch, what sites they go to. Does that make sense? It's also good at the opposite of giving details. If transactional is good at giving details, which is great because it's the things we want to know to make a transaction right now, relational is not good at giving logical details. It's really good at making emotional connections. Storytelling. Why is that important? Because that's the driver of consumer behavior. We'll rationalize the stuff on this end to get the things we want on this end. That's the way it works. All right? We'll do one more quick exercise. I want to show you something before I start bringing this thing to a resounding conclusion and take some questions. So, I'm going to show you a little something about memory and how it works. So last exercise, if you can, write down for me all the phone numbers that you know. Couple of quick rules. Don't write down your own number, that's just weird. That's like me saying write down all the people you know and you write down yourself. That's another class I teach, but that's not this class. That's for psychology, trying to stop being a sociopath kind of thing. All right, the second thing is don't cheat, use your phone. These are just the ones that we call top of mind, right? We use a lot of phone numbers. So let's say when you get to 20 this time, cut it off. So here's my question. We use way more than 5 phone numbers.
In the old days, it would have been 100.
In the old days, it would have been 100. Well, when were the old days? Like the Wild West?
Prior to cell phone.
Prior to cell phones.
Not cell phones, iPhones. Because even when we had the flips, it was easier to write, just type the number. I still type the number. I don't type the number anymore.
That's interesting.
I just
Yeah,
say
so
a
when we
name.
were younger, we remembered numbers, but we don't have to anymore.
Right.
Are there ever numbers you use that are not saved in your phone?
Yes.
Sure, right? If you're in sales, lots of the time. So what are those, how do you get that number then? Yes, at the
Google.
Google, probably also from your
From
phone.
my phone. But not if I'm on my phone. I use numbers from my parents.
Gotcha. So what's going on here? Well, yes, it's true. The advent of technology has made it so we have to remember basically no numbers. But there was some cutting edge technology in the 40s and 50s that came out that did the same thing for executives back then. It was called a Rolodex,
Remember those.
right? You didn't have to remember 8,000 phone numbers. It was right here. It was alphabetized and in order, and it was great.
And it
Right
went in
there,
circles.
easy to read.
Right.
There it is. It wasn't really that much harder, actually.
It was because you had more steps.
The Rolodex was more steps.
Yes. Yeah, now we just say it and then push and it happens.
Does everybody say it, or do some people still do this?
Because before you had to pull
So
your
it depends,
Rolodex
right?
out
She's
and
hyper.
find
She's
it.
hyper connected,
Yeah.
right? Some of you are like, God, I wish I could just say it. All right, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, yes, as technology makes it easier and easier, our brain leaves more and more to that. But we've never really been great at remembering phone numbers. It's just not something that we've been especially good at, because there's been places we could get that number if we needed to. That's why the yellow pages and the white pages for so long held such a great place in society. They reported. They were the list of numbers. But you're right. Back in the day, as a kid, I remember remembering all the 30 kids in my classroom. I knew their numbers, right? So that's an interesting thing that's happened in one generation, right? I mean, literally, a generation measured about 20 years, 25 years, just like that. The brain has evolved. What does it evolve to do?
Ask Siri.
Every 72 hours, that's 3 days, the average consumer's mind forgets up to 92% of every commercial message it sees or hears. I find this incredibly hard to believe. I see the data over and over again. I just can't believe we keep 8% of it. I can't believe it. Because I see the data on how many messages were impacted with a day. Depending on the city you're in, depending on your lifestyle, it's anywhere from 1 to 10,000 a day. Now all that counts. This stuff on the wall counts. Bus placards count. Billboards count. Magazine ads in the doctor's office count. Cards count. Emails count. Texts count. It all counts. So that's how it gets up at such a big number. But it's a big number. 8% of that is flabbergasting. I cannot believe we retain it. But you do. It is the job of advertising, the tip of that marketing iceberg. It is the job of advertising to get your company's message into the 8%. Period. That's the job. That's what it's designed to do. Now if you do that, the rest of this will then follow. Potentially. Potentially. Talk about that just a quick second. This is the job. Now, this is simple. I didn't say easy. Because simple and easy are not synonyms, are they? No, they're dramatically different things. Most things in life start simple and easy from the same dot, and then they quickly diverge. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to spend more time with my kids. I'm going to lose weight. Those are all very simple things to say, and in theory, easy to do. They're certainly important things, wouldn't you say? Are they easy? No, they're very, very hard. We can only do a certain finite number of things well, so choose wisely. One of the things I choose to do well is market my business. So I understand this. I know there are only 2 things that go into the 8%. Number 1, things we need right now. Things I'm transactional for. You ever gone to the grocery store or gone out to dinner, hungry? Anybody ever had that awful situation? Bad. Like what happens? You buy everything, right? You pick this restaurant with the best of intentions because it's healthy, and then by the time the salad comes, you've already thrown down a pile of bread and a couple of beers. You're like, what just happened here? It's a disaster. Well, it's because you weren't in control of yourself. Literally, your brain overrode your logic. Because I need those things. Things that we need right now will stay in longer than 72 hours. So remember my car is coming off lease in 60 days? If I see an ad for 0% financing for a Honda Accord, and Honda Accord happens to be a car I like, as I really start getting into the market in about 40 days from now, and it's go time, will I remember that Honda has 0% financing?
Yes.
Yeah, I need that information. I'm in the market. So it's longer than 3 days. It's over a month. But as soon as I get that car, that information gets wiped clean. 3 months, which I don't know about you guys, 3 months flies like that in my life. 3 months later, I couldn't tell you what the financing is on a Honda. Somebody walk up to me and go, hey man, you got a Honda, do you like it? I love it. Love it, I got a great deal on it. They still have that deal? I don't know. They're not advertising anymore? Well, I'm sure they are, just not to me. But you're watching the same TV shows and same radio and seeing the same billboards as before. You're their target. I'm pretty sure they're still serving banner ads to you even. You mean you haven't seen a single one about what their financing is? No, I don't remember any of them. Yeah, it's just bouncing off of you. Because it's giving me details I no longer need. I don't know what the financing offer is. I'm a relational consumer to Honda. I love Honda. I'm driving one. It's great. I don't even know what the financing is. I'm good for like 3.5 years. I don't need those details. I don't know what to do with them. I don't understand them. It's like Sear. You might as well just say it, the Honda Sear. Okay, that sounds good. Maybe I'll buy one of those in 3.5 years. Number 2, things that connect with us emotionally. So this may stay longer than 72 hours, but eventually we'll get wiped clean. This stays in your brain forever. If you have not done so already, can you write down your home number?
Yeah.
Not the home you live in now. I mean your home, the home you grew up in.
Yeah.
For some of you it's the same number, I get that, but for those of you that have changed, can you write down your home number? Some people can still write down their address. Who can do that? Why is that?
It's emotionally attached.
It's emotionally, that's not a phone number, any more than a ring is a ring. It's a tether to a different time and place. Have you ever gone to your old house where you grew up and it's been a while? Anybody had that experience? What was it? What was your first conscious thought about that house? You walk in, you hadn't been in there in a while. Maybe somebody else lived there, it's decorated differently. But instead, you're not looking at the floors and going, oh, I wish we'd done that with the floors. Your first thought of that house is what? It's what? It's what?
The ceilings are
Yeah,
so low.
it's small.
Small.
Because in your brain, that house, that time, is big.
Right.
That's the phone number. No matter how many times I do the exercise, I never get tired of doing it because a visceral, subconscious reaction takes place. Most people crack a smile. It's just a thing. You can't help it. Unless you're abused. I don't want to get into that. Then you leave. Usually the class usually ends for you right about that point. So, what are we going to do? We're going to create emotional connections to get and stay in the 8% in perpetuity. That make sense? That's how we're going to get our unfair share here. Because the fact of the matter is, that's where the battle's won. The battle is won for your business in the mind of the consumer way before they're ready to buy something. Here, I'll give you a quick example. We just taught my 5-year-old the lesson we taught my 8-year-old, and we'll probably continue to teach both of them over and over again until they're like in their 50s. We teach them this lesson. Never talk to
Strangers.
strangers. Have anybody ever heard that term before? What's a stranger? Somebody you don't know. That's weird, because we're also trying to teach them respect for others. Very confusing thing, right? It just doesn't, like, it actually makes no sense. But we teach them never talk to strangers as the overriding golden rule of being a child. Never, above respect, above everything else, if in doubt, run like hell. Right? Come find me. You with me? All right. So, never talk to strangers. And we pound that in. In fact, it's not just here. In Canada, the UK, France, they all have a version of never talk to strangers. It's part of our culture, literally. It's part of what we do and teach and know. Never talk to strangers. Then you fast forward 30 years and you want to do some bathroom remodeling. You type in bathroom remodeling Jacksonville into Google, and Google serves up a list of strangers. And your brain is freaking out. You may not feel the sweat coming on, but I can tell you on a biometric machine, I would recognize it in an instant. You're searching for a known quantity. You're searching for somebody that you go and go, oh, I've heard of those guys. I guess I'll start there. Hopefully it's even better than that. Hopefully it's, oh, I've heard good things about those guys. For most business owners, that moment in time right there is the difference between success, wild success, and maybe not failure, but just kind of bumping along month to month. That's the difference maker, right there. Because is that a small thing? Is it a small thing? List of I don't know, and now I'm going to judge you by maybe position, or I'll go to all of them, or how good your website looks, or, oh, I'll start there. How much better is I'll start there? How much better would you say as a percentage?
75.
75%. Going once. Anybody else?
That's 100%.
100% better. How about exponentially better? My dad owned his own business, and he said to me once, it's really simple. I'm trying to get it so that when people need what I sell, and they come looking for me, I'm easy to find, and when they see my name, they go, oh yeah, I'll start with that guy. I'll take the rest from there. Does that make sense? That's it. That's the expectation. That's how it works. That's how advertising works. Now, to sum up our differences between marketing and advertising, it's day one. You're going to open that delicious Italian restaurant you've always dreamt of with your grandma's recipe. And you've made so much money in whatever endeavor you're in, you drop this dead-end industry, and you get into the Italian food business, where your real passion is. And you open up the business, and nothing happens. Because that's the way it works. If you build it, nobody ever comes in the beginning. So you got to do something. Some sort of outbound communication. What are some things you might do? You got limited budget. What might you do?
Post about it on social media.
Put it on social media. Put it on Facebook.
Flyers.
Flyers.
Give samples of your food outside your door.
Yeah. Walk around, canvas, hire a guy in a chicken suit. There's a lot of things I might do. Maybe I made so much money that I go right into doing some advertising. So let's use that as our placeholder. I'm going to do some kind of outbound communication called advertising. And then what's going to happen is people are going to come in. They're going to interact with my sales and my customer service. In a restaurant, it might be your host or hostess. It might be the waiter or waitress. It might be the chef comes out and goes, hey, thank you so much for trying our new restaurant. Was everything good? Yeah, it was good. You know what? I'm trying a couple new desserts. I'm just going to send them out. I'd just love to get your opinion before you leave. They're on me. If the food is great, the service is excellent, you're going to leave, and what are you going to do?
Tell more people.
Yep. You'll probably, as a restaurant, still want to do that outbound communication where you're pushing the message out, letting more and more people know. But you're also going to start getting this really nice kiss called word of mouth. Repeat and referral. And this is going to continue to repeat itself over and over and over again, and your business is going to grow and it's going to prosper. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, you notice how this word now, ADV, advertising, is little and WAM is big? That's the way it's supposed to work. If you're a mature business in the United States of America, mature is going to be 10, 15 years or older, you should be getting more leads, more customers from word of mouth than you are from advertising. Advertising is what primes the pump. Okay? The rest of this stuff is what grows your business. Otherwise, you are paying top dollar for every single new customer, new lead, each and every time they come in. You can't. It doesn't work that way. It's got to happen this way. Statistically speaking, it's over 50% of your leads must be coming from word of mouth as a mature business. If it's not, it means something's broken. Not the advertising, that's just what's pushing people in. We're talking about repeat and referral. Well, why do people repeat and refer? Because they're satisfied, right? Nope. Satisfied customers might repeat. They do not refer, and they certainly don't evangelize, which is what you really want. Delighted customers drive your business. Delighted customers. What are delighted customers? Delighted customers are those that you over-deliver. How do you over-deliver? By exceeding their expectations. You cannot have delight if you do not have surprise. Surprise is the cornerstone of delight, otherwise it's expected. The best you can do is meet expectations. If you're going to exceed expectations, create delight, create strong word of mouth, and break the cycle of always needing more leads from your advertising that are neither predictable nor consistent, what you're going to do is you're going to figure out a way to surprise your customers by over-delivering on product and service and delight them so that your entire marketing plan works together and you have a forward-growing marketing snowball. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, what happens is some businesses, snowball looks like this. Flat. And the knee jerk is to say, well, it's the advertising. I can tell you virtually without knowing what you do for a living that it's not. That may be contributing, but I can tell you the primary is happening somewhere in your loop, in your circle. And this is usually the goal. This is customer experience, like you said. This is product. Those are all those key things. So I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm just going to tell you this for what it's worth. Judge your advertising harshly. Evaluate it completely. An advertising plan is relational and transactional media working together. The number one complaint I've heard about TV and radio over the years, they don't generate enough leads. And the number one complaint I hear about things like Google or things like that are transactional media, places people naturally go when they're ready to call you because we don't remember phone numbers. I gotta get the phone number from somewhere. I don't remember them. They're not saved in my phone, but those are friends and family. Is it a list that you wrote down, mostly friends and family? Yeah, funny, right? You know why? Because you only remember numbers that connect with you emotionally. We do not call phone numbers in real time from TV and radio ads. We do not remember phone numbers. Don't put the phone number in your ad. It's a free tip. If you're running TV and radio ads, nobody's using that number. Statistically speaking, nobody uses it in real time, and you certainly aren't remembering it. It's wasting valuable fabric. You need that fabric to make a beautiful outfit, to tell your story, to create emotional connection. Transactional media, whatever your consumer is doing to find your kind of business, when they're in the market for your kind of business, be there in a prominent way and give them details. Phone number. If the first question they always ask is about coverage area, coverage area. If it's about financing, it's financing. Put it right there, but not on the TV and radio, because I don't know what you're talking about there. It's seer. I can't relate to I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't know enough even about my needs to even understand what you're saying. Does that make sense? Relational, transactional, together. Advertising plan. Judge the entire advertising plan by its total output. Do not try to break down the individual parts of the advertising plan any more than you would try to break down the individual parts of a workout your personal trainer gives you or the investments of your financial planner. They all work together, and you cannot possibly understand exactly how. Understand your consumer's behavior, learn to take advantage of it, and you'll get a forward, positive, growing marketing snowball. That's enough. That was a lot. I'm going to hand it back off.
Thank you, Jeff.